So let's take a look at the Warhammer release waves over the last few weeks, with some new Space Marines and Index Astartes, a Space Marine hero and a pricey Primarch, and some 40k rules for our festive Gretchen friend who's looking to be sending a bomb down your chimney this Christmas time. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today I thought I'd do a roundup of a whole bunch of minor 40k news stories, things that Games Workshop has either teased, released, or previewed over the past few weeks, but perhaps nothing that really warranted an entire video all of itself to. In order, I thought we'd take a look at the Red Gobbo's surprise, the new festive Gretchen miniature for 40k, the release of Games Workshop's Fulgrim Transfigured, the very expensive Forge World miniature that might be going for a price a bit higher than people might have wanted, an interesting news of an Index Astartes for the Raptors, which maybe gives us a hint as to how they're going to be doing it this time round, a fairly cool Traitor Consul, and finally the release of the Christmas Battle Forces, maybe coming in just a little bit earlier than people might have expected. First up, I thought we'd start with our festive Gretchen, which both has a new miniature and a 40k Legends datasheet, and is basically the reincarnation of the Red Gobbo for 10th edition. It seems to be a tradition that Games Workshop's been releasing these, and they've had him in a couple of incarnations over the last few years. First a more standard one, then a squig mounted one on a squig called Bouncer. If you're looking to pick up every Gretchen in a Santa hat around, then this one is this year's miniature. The Red Gobbo seems to be lighting a stick of dynamite that looks like a candy cane, perching it on a chimney to drop someone a festive surprise down the chimney, no doubt. And there's a few other wacky details on the miniature's base as well, with some fairy lights and baubles and things, plus a stocking sack that seems to be in equal parts grenades, presents, and miniature Warhammer supplies. Kind of interesting, there's a little dice there and a miniature Citadel paint pot. I'm sure that'll be a bit of a challenge for most people to get to grips with something that tiny. Looks like the miniature's going to be going on pre-order next Saturday, so not really too long to wait if you did want to pick this one up. The last one cost £23.50, around about $37 by Games Workshop's usual conversion rates, I believe. Though it probably won't be too long until we find out the price for this, as they should be able to confirm that tomorrow. Seems that Games Workshop's very much sticking with the theme of Red Gobbos for Christmas. We've had the initial one with a sort of Christmas tree-like thing, and then we had him riding the squig with reindeer antlers Bouncer. Bit of an odd one to have the Communist Revolutionary Grot basically being Santa for the last few years. You really could have quite a collection of them going on now if you wanted, I suppose. Alongside the mini, Games Workshop have also made him a Legends datasheet, which they seem to have been doing for the last few as well. It looks like it now appears in the 40k Legends download section just alongside all the rest of them. If you wanted to represent the original one, then you've already got a datasheet just called the Red Gobbo under the Orcs download, so this one's slightly different. The previous one is more of a leader datasheet to represent a Gretchen leader, whereas this one seems to be a lone operative type version. Apparently this one's 40 points, and given that he's a lone operative, that would probably make him very intensely competitive if he was being able to be taken in competitive type lists. Having random lone operatives popping up on the table is generally pretty handy for doing secondaries and things, never mind any actual damage they do, and he does come with a deep strike special rule as well, so you could have him popping out of a chimney anywhere randomly on the table. Otherwise, he's only toughness 2 with 3 wounds, but a 4+ invulnerable save, easier to kill than virtually anything out there. He's got a custom Grot Blaster, which can do D3 Strength 5, AP 1 and damage 2 shots, maybe not too terrible against Space Marines, and his special rule hands out a bunch of explosive presents to nearby Gretchen units, allowing them to use the grenade stratagem if they want to, and also allowing the grenade stratagem's mortal wounds to go off on a 3+ if you do use it. Finally, to represent his leader type abilities, he's also got a rule called the Revolution. You get to select one Gretchen unit within 12 inches that fail Battle Shock and immediately cancel it. In all honesty, he doesn't really have the most threat in terms of his own damage, and the grenade thing is maybe a little bit on the niche side, but kind of fun. If he were usable in competitive lists, then for 40 points, having him randomly deep strike to do secondary objectives and things could be quite nice, and anything else that he'd do would be a positive. Definitely seems like he could have a place in an Orky army if you just wanted to use him for fun. Finally, it did sort of seem like Games Workshop might have been teasing something else. Really not sure how much to make of that, but they said that he was looking around trying to catch some sort of infiltrating operative. Then the end of his video had this thing looming up over him. Maybe that's representing his squig with the reindeer antlers or something like that, or something else completely. If it's a teaser to something else on the way, it's maybe a bit non-specific, but let me know your thoughts if there's anything obvious I've missed. I'll try and post it in a pinned correction down below the video. Otherwise, for a bunch of other releases over the last few weeks, I did think it was interesting that we've finally found out the price for Fulgrim Transfigured, the rather snazzy Slanesh mutated Fulgrim model that came out for Horus Heresy not so very long ago. It seems that on Games Workshop's new web store you can now buy him, and it's £175, €215 or $270, so perhaps predictably astronomical in pricing given that he's a Forge World resin style miniature. Just for context, the regular Demon Primarchs are $170 or £100, so around about 2/3 the price or a little bit less, and the Horus Ascended miniature was $148 or £95, just a little bit over half the price for him. As ever, Forge World tends to more sell the miniatures based on their size and scope, and I think that most people were probably expecting him to be significantly more expensive than Horus given that he is a bigger miniature. Always a bit disappointing when cool miniatures like this come out, but they're at a price that could well be prohibitive for a whole load of people who might want to get their hands on them. I guess we'll have to watch this space for a plastic version of Fulgrim at some point for Warhammer 40k. I'm sure it'll happen at some point sooner or later when the Emperor's Children get a release, but there's definitely no saying that that'll definitely be within 10th edition or anything. Another small thing I found interesting was the Index Astartes article they teased for White Dwarf this month. Apparently in the upcoming White Dwarf for Games Workshop there's going to be a section for the Raptors. Maybe a slightly niche chapter overall, but one that definitely have a following. They're a Raven Guard successor that participated in the Badab War, famed for prosecuting their battles with a dour sense of duty and being all very sensible about things. They did have some rules for their chapter master Lais Isadon in previous 40k rules. In any case, it looks like the content for the Raptors in White Dwarf is going to be an Index Astartes article, things that they have done in the past and occasionally have been accompanied by fully fledged 40k in-game rules. It was kind of easy just to slot extra layered rules into 40k when you had a successor chapter system, and you could have some set chapter traits plus a few unique stratagems and things to set them apart from the rest. I think it was kind of fun, and for the most part they were kind of sensible and tried to keep the rules at least somewhat niche, so they might not be the most ultimate competitive thing around or anything like that, but it maybe was a little bit unhelpful having parts of the core rule set fragmented throughout White Dwarf articles. It seems that this one for the Raptors though is mainly going to be a lore affair, and it seems that the way that they're going to release content for them is going to be via Crusade rules, which is a system that not everyone plays, though I guess in more casual games you might be able to use part of the rules just as a more standard army. Maybe charging yourself some roughly appropriate points for Crusade relics and things in 10th edition games perhaps. It would be a bit more of a casual affair though, as opposed to anything too competitive or optimised. I guess that's probably going to be the way that they handle these going forward, keep the White Dwarf rules for narrative things and keep mainstream 40k things just for the codexes. It definitely is a system that has its advantages with not fragmenting the rule set, but might mean that we won't be seeing White Dwarf as an official place where you get more 40k rules other than the main publications from GW. This Traitor Consul miniature was another one from Heresy that perhaps gained a fair bit of attention from the 40k community as well. Plenty of scope for using Space Marines as either Chaos Space Marine or regular Space Marine heroes in the current setting, perhaps particularly ones that don't have an enormous amount of markings denoting them from any one chapter or legion. This guy's a resin miniature that would normally be Forge World, but I guess it's all under the Warhammer web store, and he's already up for sale, £26.50, €33 or $42. Having a quick look at the moment and it looks like he's already temporarily out of stock in the USA, though I'm sure he'll return in time. Perhaps compared with some of Games Workshop's other character offerings, he's maybe not as enormously higher than they are compared with at least some Forge World offerings before. And overall, I'd say the sculpt has been well enough received, certainly looks a bit different to most of his standard Space Marine releases. Interesting ornate inlays for his power armor there, and the pauldrons do look cool. Sounds like at least there's a fair few people who are interested in picking him up. The Heresy range does give plenty of Space Marine and Chaos Marine collectors the opportunity to have all sorts of fancy things, though usually coming at a bit of a marked up price given Forge World. Finally, just before recording this video, it does seem that Games Workshop has just dropped a surprise announcement to say that the Christmas Battle Forces will be this week apparently. It seems that they're going for the release of these a bit earlier than the previous ones they've done the last couple of years. They've generally tended to materialise for pre-orders around early December or late November. I guess if they're going for pre-order this coming Saturday, and that will be the 11th of November, probably worth being prompt and getting there when the web store refreshes at that time. They usually tend to be around about 10 AM local time, though that does vary region to region. Didn't really want to dwell on it too much for this video, but I'll be back to talk about prices in the next video in the morning for the UK, as then we should know the prices. Otherwise, still no news on a bunch of things that we know that are coming at some stage or other. The Terminator Captain is perhaps the biggest mystery from the Space Marine release set. They released the other characters, including the new Terminator Chaplain and the Jump Captain, and have even re-released the Jump Captain as part of the Space Marine Christmas Battle Force, but no news on the Terminator one yet. The same goes for the other contents of the Leviathan box, like the Ballistas Dreadnought, Scream Attila, and Neurotyrant. I guess they might go for a repackaging at some point, but that could potentially be a fair few months away. And otherwise, the one that I keep expecting to materialise each weekend is Kill Team Salvation as well. Both the Striking Scorpions and Space Marine Scouts will be coming in that box set, and again I think that's going to be a popular one. I'm kind of looking forward to getting my hands on the new Scout kit from that one, provided they don't sell out immediately of course. They are quite a fun unit in game right now. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed a quick roundup of a few 40k news things from over the last week or so. Let me know your thoughts on any of the topics down in the comments below. As always, look forward to hearing your takes. Hopefully I'll be back in the morning for a review of the Christmas Battleforce prices. Will be interesting to see what they are, so feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics or just check back later if you'd like to see that. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to help support. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.